So, welcome everybody. Yes, I think I'm almost the last one today. That explains maybe that we don't have oh, now we are getting some additional persons attending. Great. Just let me explain you a little bit. First, one slide on who is Osapiens, who we are. We are worldwide, the company that has the most number of customers using our EUDR solution today. So we have clients using our solution in many different industries, from coffee to cacao to tires manufacturing to furniture to retailers. I just put a few of the logos there. Most of the retailers and food production companies and furniture companies are affected by EUDR. Even automotive companies is affected by EUDR. We are a software company. Our headquarters are in Mannheim, near Frankfurt. But we have offices in Paris, Amsterdam, UK, and a little bit in Madrid, New York as well. We are famous for automation. And I think this is what customers like about our solution for EUDR is the automate manual task. And you are going to see what means EUDR for companies, because it is a lot of work. And we have a platform that is doing more than just EUDR, because our clients do have to solve more problems than EUDR when it comes to sustainability. EUDR is one, maybe the most difficult one to solve, but it's not the only one. Just quickly in numbers, we are 450 Osapiens, people working at Osapiens building software. We don't do any consulting, we don't do any services, we just build software and sell subscriptions of our software to help companies automate the due diligence obligations, in this case EUDR. We have over 1,750 companies using our solutions on the Osapiens Hub. We are 7 years old, and last year we were honored by, or maybe Goldman Sachs was honored. We choose Goldman Sachs as an investor. They invested 120 million Series B in our company, and so we are now growing also in the US. Just about us. Last slide about the company, and then we go into the EUDR topic. We've created a platform, we call it the Osapiens Hub, and the platform helps you automating stuff that otherwise you would have to do manually with AI and with workflows. I think that's kind of our competence. It's holistic. I mean, I just have a booklet if someone is interested. In this booklet, we explain all the solutions. Each of the pages on this booklet is one of the solutions modules that you can get from the platform. So it's actually not only one of them is EUDR, but it's one of them, because what we see is our clients have to solve many other problems, like you need solution for due diligence in the supply chain. You need a solution for whistleblower compliance and protection. You need a solution for EUDR, for scope 1, 2, 3 calculations, for CSRD reporting, and so on. So it's holistic. And finally, it's not only built for large companies. Most of our clients today are large corporations with more than 1,000 employees. However, regulations like EUDR are also affecting small and mid-sized enterprises, as long as they are handling some of the commodities, and we also want to help them. Just quickly, what is EUDR? Who doesn't know? I think everybody here will know EUDR, so I will not just go into the basics. But at the end, if you export or import or produce or trade any of these 8 commodities and derivative products, then you are affected by EUDR. And derivative products means obviously paper is coming out of wood, leather is coming out of cattle, tires are coming out of rubber. So at the end, in the Annex 2 of the EUDR regulation, there are, I think, over 400 HS codes that are affected by EUDR. So there are, our calculations is more than 50,000 companies that will have to comply with EUDR, and most of them don't know it yet. So that's, now what you have to do, you need to make sure that any of these products that are these commodities or derivatives for these commodities are produced in line with local legislations, wherever they come from, and they are deforestation free. That's the first thing you need to ensure. The second thing is you need to create, make sure you need to create a due diligence statement, a declaration, by using one of the systems from the EU called Traces. So for each import, export, you need to actually create a due diligence statement. And third, you need to pass that due diligence statement to your customers. So if you are a trading company buying coffee in Colombia and selling it to Starbucks, then you need to pass the due diligence statement to your customers as well. Okay? So now, the prerequisites, just a summary, means you need to make sure the products you put into the markets that are any of these commodities are deforestation free, are produced in compliance with local legislations, and you need to create a due diligence statement. That means 3 steps that all companies have to do in future. First, you need to collect information for your suppliers. And I will go down to what it needs to be collected. Second, you need to evaluate and minimize the risk of deforestation and risk of non-compliance with local legislations. And third, you need to submit the due diligence statement to the European system traces. Document it and pass it through to your downstream. That's a lot of detail, but feel free to make pictures if you're interested. I think we distribute the slides afterwards. I'm not sure. You need to gather a lot of information from your suppliers, and I think the most difficult one to gather is you need the geolocation of the plots of land where the commodities are coming from. So you need hectares, you need the polygons actually, right? And because to be able to generate a due diligence statement, you need to pass the geolocations, the polygons, in geodation data to the traces system from the European Union. That information you need to get from your suppliers, in addition to the name and the address and the email address from the suppliers, the date and period of the production, a lot more information. But what is new and very challenging is you need the plots of land, the geopolygons. What we see most of our clients in practice, what they are doing, they are changing the contracts with suppliers because in future you need the suppliers to provide you this information, otherwise you are taking a huge risk. And you need to have audit rights as well. So make sure what they are passing you is the right information as well. Okay. So second, you need to run a risk analysis. There are 2 types of risk analysis. One is a risk of deforestation, and obviously, if you are in the good industry, deforestation is a must because you are cutting trees. So it's not only deforestation, but it's also forest degradation. So it's the 2 types of risks you need to analyze here to make sure your products are deforestation free, and you need to also make sure that your suppliers are legally compliant with local legislations, things like they have the usage rates for the land, etc., etc. Okay, so. And third, you need to generate a due diligence statement and pass the due diligence statement down to your customers. Okay, so if you are selling your furniture, for example, to a retailer, then you need to pass the due diligence statement to the retailer so that they can also submit the obligations and submit the due diligence statement number. An example of palm oil. If we have a producer of palm oil and we have a company in the middle, this is a manufacturer of fatty alcohols. In this example, is a manufacturer in European Union, and this manufacturer is importing palm oil to be able to produce alcohol. So the first thing, this manufacturer, the number one, needs to, when they import the palm oil from the supplier in Indonesia, they have to create at the point of import, before putting these products into the European Union market, they have to create a due diligence statement in the traces system. And they get back a due diligence statement reference number. And that's the first step. That's number one. Now you have the goods, you have the palm oil in your warehouse, and you start the production. You produce your alcohol. After a week, you sell the produced alcohol to your customer. And then the same company goes to number two, needs to create another due diligence statement number with reference maybe to the old one, but you need to create a second one. So the same process, when you import, you need a due diligence statement number, and when you sell your products, you need to create a second due diligence statement number. Okay, that's important. Now, the timelines, we were all very lucky that it was postponed 1 year, because that would have been impossible for industry to comply with. But we don't think it's going to be postponed again. It's quite fixed now. It's going to be for all large companies end of December 2025. And for SMEs, will be 6 months later, June 2026. So now companies really need to get ready. Now, what we do with our Osapiens solution, there are 4 modules. As I said, our objective is to help companies automate and avoid manual work, because otherwise you cannot do it with Excel spreadsheets. Even if you only have 10, 20 suppliers, it's just too much work because you need transactions. I mean, every time you have a transactional data, you need to generate a due diligence statement. For each purchase order, you need a due diligence statement. So you need to automate that. There is no other way. You cannot do it with Excel spreadsheet. It's not like due diligence in supply chain, or it's just a different story. So we have 4 modules. All the modules are running on the Osapiens hub, where we can integrate with existing systems and automate the whole thing, so you don't have manual work. The first module is about gathering the data from your suppliers, because that's the basis. If you don't have the data from your suppliers, you cannot do anything. You cannot generate the due diligence statements. So for that, we provide 3 different tools. We provide a supplier portal that your suppliers can use to maintain the information. They can create the polygons, create the, draw the polygons, the plots of land there. They can see your purchase orders there, your request for information. This is all free for them to use. Also, we provide an offline mobile app, because in many cases, your suppliers are going to be the farmers, and the farmers might not even have an internet. So we have an Android mobile app is where they can use the mobile app to draw the polygons and the plots of land. As I said, this is free for them to use. Some other more refined suppliers, they want to use our API because they have a lot of data. We also provide an API for bigger suppliers, okay? But that's the first thing. You need the data from your suppliers, and we provide a portal for them to be able to pass you the data, and this for them is free to use. Second, we do the EUDR risk analysis. And here we have to do 2 types of risk analysis. One is the legality and supply chain risk analysis, right? So there are different categories. But the second one is the deforestation forest degradation. So there are 2 different types of risk analysis we need to run. On the legality part, we use indexes, certificates from your suppliers, or even questionnaires. Sometimes you want your suppliers to prove that they have the rights to use the land for example, growing coffee or whatsoever, right? And on the right side is we use satellite data to do a risk analysis of deforestation forest degradation. I will just use 1 slide to explain you what we do in the next thing. Let's do, because this is quite new, right? This is the first time there is a legislation where you need to actually use satellite data to prove something. So how we do it? We do it ourselves. We build the software ourselves. The first thing, there are 4 steps. Okay, the first step is to validate the geolocation data that you get is valid, right? That the polygon is not in the middle of ocean, that is not in the middle of a city, that the polygon that the supplier has passed you is feasible. It's not like a strange shape. So that's a basic validation, the way you can already avoid quite a lot of problems. The second validation is if the polygon intersecting with some part of forest, yes or no. If no, there is no risk. We can generate the due diligence statement. If yes, we go to the next one. Then the legislation says that there is a cutover period. So all trees that were cut before the 31st of December 2020 is okay, is the past. But after the cutover period is considered deforestation. So that's the second check we do. We not only check the EU Forest Observatory, which is the same source that the EU is checking, we enrich that data, but also we do a deforestation analysis with sequences of data from the past, because you need to prove that the trees were cut before the 2020 or after that. If it was before, then there is no risk of no compliance, so you are okay. If it was trees before 2020 and afterwards it was not no trees, that there is high risk, and then we go to the next one. And the next one is the check of if there is still, you might have cut trees and it still could be compliant. I mean, if you are importing good, you are going to have to cut trees or rubber sometimes, right? So, for example, that's if the trees were secondary forest and not primary forest, then you are okay. There is no risk of compliance. If it was primary forest, for example, no. Or if the trees were cut for infrastructure building, there are several exceptions. So all these things is something we do in a software in a way that is automated before we pass the information to the traces system. Because the traces system, when you pass the geolocation to the system from the European Union, is going to give you a status back if it's compliant or not. And that you need to integrate with your systems, right? So the third module of our solution is internal tracking. Because in some cases, I will use an example of a furniture company. Our software generates the due diligence statement automatically. But you need to, I mean, this is an example of furniture. If you are selling tables, you buy good, right? But then you are assembling a table. So you need to keep internal tracking of what are the batches of good and the geolocations of good that went into that table. And some companies are very refined and have batch tracking already. That's good. Some others don't. And implementing batch traceability is quite a big task. So we have different approaches, more pragmatic ones, how to allocate inbounds to outbounds. Because at the end, you need to generate a due diligence statement number when you import, but also when you sell your table. So you need to do diligence statement number. So you need to know what are the geolocations you are putting in the second statement number. Customers can use our SAP connector, REST API, or Excel even to actually provide required data. Okay. And the last module is a module for data provisioning, because remember, you not only have to generate the due diligence statement number, you need to provide the due diligence statement number to your customers as well. So we have a supplier, in the same way we have supplier portal, we have a customer portal where you can make available all this information to your customers. And we have also an API and a subscription service where you can integrate your customers in the solution. Right, all together, I think, as you can see, all the modules at a glance, the suppliers, your suppliers use the supplier portal API or the Osapiens Hub for EUDR to provide the data you need. You gather the data, you get the purchase orders from your ERP system, because for each purchase order, normally in future, you need to have a due diligence statement created by the traces system. We do, for the purchase order, a risk analysis of deforestation, a risk analysis of legality. We mitigate the risk, and then we do a EUDR assessment. We automatically create the due diligence number by interfacing with the traces system from the European Union, and we pass it to your customers in the customer portal. This is just at a glance what our solution end-to-end is doing, and this is being done out in fully automated way. I think that's it. I guess you have questions because it was quite fast. So we have still time for questions. Yeah, so 1 minute. Just one last thing, because otherwise Kim will kill me. So if you are interested into learning more about EUDR or Osapiens, what we do, we have the largest sustainability summit is our user group. We got last year 1,700 companies there. It's our customers. I mentioned you are all invited. It's free for you to participate. As I say, it's a software user group, but we accept also not customers that are interested to learn about our solutions. So you just take one of them, and also we create a social network for EHPS. People working in EHG space sustainability have a lot of questions about how to do things. Many times our customers know better than us, and so that's like a LinkedIn for sustainability managers where you can talk to each other and maybe come to pragmatic solutions that we don't even know. So that's called ehps.org. You can register there and get in touch with some of your peers. And if you are interested, you need to do ESG reporting. We have also published a CSRD for Dummies book, implemented CSRD for Dummies. I know that's not the topic today, but you can download it for free from the website. It's quite a informative book. Thank you.